Well, we made it once again, Elizabeth Riley. Welcome to Leadership from the Heart. My name is Renee Funk, and I am really happy to see you today, Elizabeth.
I'm really happy. I really, really look forward to these every week and the different people we get to talk to, because I gain so much from it. Right, every person we've talked to, I just gain so many nuggets, and so I just look forward to this every time, and of course to see you.
Well, we're in for a real treat today. So our special guest today, I've had the privilege to spend some time with even more recently at Inman Connect. Joe Rand is the Chief Creative Officer for Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate, Rand Realty, which is one of the largest companies in the New York tri-state region. Joe, we are so grateful that you took some time to share with us today. Welcome to Leadership from the Heart.
Thank you for having me. I've worked with both of you at Inman Things and some other conference stuff, so it's a pleasure to be on your show here. This is great.
We appreciate it, and we're ready to dive right in. First, how are you doing? You've been through so much in your region. You were not deemed essential as real estate service providers for quite some time. Is that correct?
Yeah, wasn't that a kick in the teeth? We're not essential. I mean, who wants to be called non-essential? My wife tells me that constantly, but like I've never had the actual state authority declare me non-essential. We basically by mid-March through early June in New York, we have offices in New Jersey. New Jersey wasn't quite this bad, but New York, you weren't allowed to show properties. And I really thought at the end of March that we were going to just lock down for 3 months and there would be no revenue, no nothing. But agents are very creative, and consumers, we had a lot of demand. So we were able to still put deals together in April and May. And then when the essential services order lifted in June, the market went crazy. So like June and July have been off the charts, and we've more than made up for what we lost in April and May. It's been gratifying that and obviously a great relief.
We're hearing that a lot, that you just kind of all the markets, no matter who we're talking to and where they are, that all the markets have kind of seen this explosive growth coming out. I mean, we're not coming out of it, but when that first initial shock kind of hit everybody. But being non-essential, what were you guys doing? I mean, obviously you were, Renee and I always talk about this unexpected gift of time, but we were still essential. We were still working. We were still navigating clients. So did you just take a step back and say, okay, this is our chance to regroup, or how did you manage that?
I will tell you, once that rule came down, I spent the last 2 weeks of March with my partners huddled, trying to figure out what we were going to do to keep everybody engaged. So I created a ton of content about like, this is the time when you should be, connecting with the people in your sphere and all the odds and ends of like fixing up your database and like doing all your marketing and learning all these tools and doing all this education, because I thought they were going to be sitting on their hands for 2 months and we had to sort of keep them in the mix. In fact, I mean, people were busy. I mean, like they had the mortgage people, title people, insurance people, they were all considered essential. So we had a big pipeline of deals from the first quarter that all had to close, and every deal was complicated. So they had a ton of stuff to do to close those deals. And they were even opening deals. I mean, they weren't allowed to show properties, but a lot of times they had people who'd already seen them, and now it was a matter of negotiating the deal. We sold a lot of homes sight unseen. The people would do drive-bys or they'd look in the windows, and we did a lot of deals that way. Agents, I was amazed at how creative they got and how hardworking they were. I mean, we were down. I mean, our open business was down 40% compared to last year, but like I tend to think of that as only 40%. Like that was pretty good considering you can't show a house. Like, the market was very strong. And that's why, when you say that all across the country, the market came back as soon as the rules loosened a bit. I mean, we just had just the market growth cycle when this happened, and the pandemic didn't really throw it off its game. It just delayed things. I mean, they didn't decide not to buy a house in April and May. They just couldn't. So when the rules loosened in June, they came back into the market. And then on top of that, at least where I am, we've had a lot of demand coming out of New York City. Unfortunately, you don't want to think of it as being benefiting at the expense of somebody else, but like a lot of people leaving Manhattan, I don't think for good or forever. I don't think this is going to last forever, But I do think a lot of people who are on the fence, who were thinking about, yeah, maybe in the next couple of years, it's time to leave the city and go to the suburbs. It was like in May, they were like, all right, no more waiting. It's time to go. You know, we have a lot of our business in Manhattan, Brooklyn has jumped.
Joe, you're touching on the way business has kind of released this pent up demand more recently. If you look back to January 2020 and do some comparison between then and now, and you've also mentioned some trends that you're seeing, right? We talk a lot about migration patterns we're keeping an eye on. We're talking about, are there going to be any density shifts that we might want to keep our eye on? What are you seeing now as compared to January 2020?
You know, I think the migratory pattern is one of them. That business is up. I think that we're seeing people, agents are being more selective in working with buyers, that they're not just going to schlep a buyer around to go look at 20 properties because the person has an idle idea of maybe moving. Like, if you're serious about moving, I will invest time with you to find a home. But if you're just looking around, go drive around, look at homes. But we're not going to let you go see them in person because it's not safe, really. I mean, every interaction you have outside your home, everywhere in the country right now, is a risk. I mean, where we are in New York, we suffered in April, May, June. We're better now. A lot of places in the country are worse off than we are now. They're close to where we were back a few months ago. But no matter what, like, you leave the house, even if you put a mask on, even if you do distancing, it's a risk.
Yeah.
And so you let somebody into your house to go look at it. Well, that's a risk too. And like, you should only take it if you're serious. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. There's a lot of like, listen, you want to go see a house? All right. You get pre-qualified, which should always have been the case, but wasn't always the case. Number two, you got to go do a drive-by first. I'm not going to drive up to the house with you and have you say, oh, I don't like this block. Like, go drive by the house first before we go and make an appointment with that seller. And then number three, obviously agents are doing a much better job with video now. They're doing the virtual tours. If there is a virtual tour, watch the virtual tour first. Like, if there's a Matterport video, go click through the Matterport video, do all that stuff before you commit to going and looking at the house in person. You know, qualify yourself. They're qualifying the buyers a lot more than they were back then. We're seeing a lot of that.
That's keeping the marketplace really serious. We're seeing that in Orlando as well, whether we look at our team or, other agents that are colleagues in our market. Is those who are in the marketplace are serious players. There's not a let's just see, let's go out and just take a peek. It's not that. All the points that you have made are so critical for the agents to, we need to provide those tools, though, as listing agents. Let's talk about that. We can help our customers by making sure we have our 360s. So it's really good to hear that you guys are leveraging those resources.
I'm proud to tell you that I now own one of these based on your recommendation at Inman. A few months ago, you said get one of these cameras. So I've been playing with it. I mean, I don't list homes, but I need to know all the tools my agents might use. And so I've been playing with this in my home, creating my own little 3D tours of my house.
You have to follow my husband, Joe. So Jeff, he's got a few of those, and he even takes them with him on his bicycle rides every morning. You got to follow him.
I was actually just going to say that. I was like, I've seen so many 360 tours from Jeff Funk on his bike ride around Orlando. But
that's great. I should do that. I haven't even thought about taking it outside yet. So I'll take it outside, go play with it.
That's right.
I might have to get one and entertain my kids for a while, right? Put them to work. I want to go back though because I know we'll jump into how things have changed a little bit in the current climate, but I want to step back because you have a very unique background and story, right? I mean, yours is truly a family business that started many, many, many years ago with an idea from a family member has grown from that. Can you talk a little bit about that history and kind of what drew you? I mean, because obviously when there's family businesses, some people are drawn to the family business, some are drawn to not be in the family business, right? So what drew you to the real estate industry, and what does that look like from your family starting so many years ago?
My mom started the company. She got her license in the late 70s, worked as an agent, worked her way into management, and started her own company in early 80s, 83, 84. I was in high school at the time. I got my license at 18, but even before I got my license, I was a weekend secretary. I was I would mow the lawns of the vacant homes. I mean, I did everything for the company. Got my license, worked every summer in pretty much through college and law school. I would try to sell one house every summer, and that would be beer money for the year. And some years I did it, some years I didn't. But then I got out of it. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I went to law school, and I then started to move into academia, and I taught for a couple of years at a couple of law schools. Meanwhile, two of my brothers, I have three younger brothers, two of them got into the business with my mom in the late 90s, and they kept telling me I had to do it. And I eventually got disenchanted with doing the professor thing at the law school, and they were making good money and they were enjoying themselves, and they pulled me in. Like 2001, I started working with them. Since then, my fourth brother, the fourth brother, my third brother, but the fourth of four of us has also gotten into the business. We've all worked together at one point or another. It truly is family. I mean, my mom is still involved, and it's really been great. I mean, people talk about that. What does it do to the family structure? It's made us much stronger. I'm much closer to my brothers than I was when I was, working at a law firm, and they were, or when I was working as a law professor. Much closer. I mean, they're younger than me. One of them is only a year younger, but one of them is 7 years younger. One of them is 18 years younger than me. And, our relationship grew immensely working together.
I love that story.
That is a really cool story just for all of you.
Mm.
Oh my goodness. So talk about your position. You're really the creative component.
What is a chief creative officer? I just have to ask, Elizabeth, what is that?
Yeah, exactly. What is that, first of all? And if you're the creative component, I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, that seems like a big role.
Well, there's two parts. There's two parts to it. The first is the reason my title is Chief Creative Officer is that my younger brother by 7 years, Matt, for a long time, we were all just managing partners. We all had equal titles. But about 4 or 5 years ago, we sort of came to the idea that he was really running the company and he really needed to have that title of CEO for various interactions that he would have. So he got to be CEO, which was quite an insult to me as the older brother, that I'm like Fredo. I have to give up the Michael gets to be the CEO, and I'm like some schmuck who picks people up at the airport. So Matt very graciously said, well, since I get to be CEO, Joe, you get to make up your title, whatever you want your title to be. And so I said, you know what, let me be Chief Creative Officer. I don't want to be Chief Financial Officer or Operations Officer. I want to be, what I do for the company is I really do create. And like one of the things that I think you learn as you do anything for a long period of time is you learn your strengths and you learn your weaknesses. And it took me a while to figure out that I'm not good at operationally running people, managing people. Matt is genius at it. Matt is wonderful at managing other people. What I'm good at is sitting in a room and like coming up with cool stuff, either content or ideas or strategies or analyzing data or whatever the case may be. But like I work better alone. And I manage like one person now, sort of. Like I have like a half-time personal assistant. That's it. Everybody else reports to Matt, but that works for us. And, I'm outside the normal chain of command, but I do creative stuff. So, we have marketing stuff to do. We have, any kind of, we have to come up with a contest. All right. I'm the one who usually comes up with some crazy idea for a contest, which I'm actually doing right now. That's why I thought about it. And Matt doesn't like my idea because it's very expensive. It involves.
Can we have a little sneak peek to that idea?
No, because if we don't do it, then like if my agents see this, they'll be like, "What? You didn't make the Tesla the prize of the contest? What happened to the Tesla? That kind of thing." So I don't want to share it.
Well, just tell your brother you got to spend money to make money sometimes. So,
Hey, he gets personally coached by Tom Ferry, so I think that idea gets inundated in his brain constantly.
There you go.
I always know when he's at his coaching session because I get a phone call and it's like he's just off the wall going crazy with ideas.
Well, if he's not listening to Tom Ferry, he's probably not going to listen to you. So maybe don't tell him that.
Fair
So
enough.
speaking of a contest, that's a really good segue. Share with us some of the things that you do in your company to continue to pour into and protect the good culture that you have. And really, if you could, we're all kind of faced with that challenge now, is how is culture protected and nurtured in a remote way when we can't necessarily meet in groups? What are your thoughts?
I would say, and I think that the agents at the company would say, that our culture is stronger now than it was six months ago. And we've always had a strong culture. That's always been one of our. We think of ourselves as a family company. We're very involved in the lives of our agents to the extent that they want us to be involved. It's all big things and little things. It's little things like, I haven't gone to one in 4 months, but I generally average like one wake or funeral every week, because there's always 1,000, 1,200 agents. Somebody's grandfather, happening, that big a group of people, and going to that is like a big personal commitment that you make to people. Either I go or Matt goes or Marsha goes. We don't always make everyone, but we try. But one of the things that really became part of our culture is that in late March, there was so much happening, and everybody was starting to use all this new Zoom type technology, that we started doing a daily call every morning. It started originally at 8, we moved it to 9. We did a half hour to an hour every day of content about, what's going on with the coronavirus, the spread, what are the new rules for us, what's going on in the market, what people are doing to help their community, whatever the case may be. And it kind of coalesced into this show with different departments. And we did it every day from probably late March till mid-June. And it was only about a week after the essential services order lifted that we said, well, you guys are now too busy. You got too much stuff going on for us to take an hour out of your day every morning. So now we do it on Monday morning. Monday morning, 9 o'clock is the great week call. It used to be the great day call. Now it's the great week call. And we do the same thing, but we do it just once a week. And there isn't quite as much urgent content as there was in April and May. And that was just one thing. But people have been really kind to email me and tell me they miss it and stuff like that. And to say that it was the thing that, when they're working from home, it's tough to give structure to your day. And it was the thing that, at 9 o'clock every day, they had to put on a clothes so they can go on the Zoom call, and spend an hour with other agents and find out what's going on. So that was a gratifying. I'll be honest with you. I don't think in my career, doing this job or any other job that I've had, I've been as effective as I was for the last 4 months, and sometimes crises do that. They give you opportunities to do better stuff. But I really feel like that I've been firing off on the cylinders, in the last 4 months. And I think that's made the company stronger and the culture better, because people remember that. They remember when things were tough. What did you do? And I think we performed well in that circumstance.
Something to be very proud of, for sure. Can you take us through, what is your core philosophy?
Sure. Core philosophy stands for client-oriented real estate. And it was sort of this insight I had years ago that when we talk about the industry, we talk about the context of that there was this broker-centric era in the 60s and 70s that led to the agent-centric era. And we still think of it as an agent-centric era. And I kind of like this, really, it's really not agent-centric. It should be client-centric. Our focus should be on the clients, not on ourselves. And what client-centric became client-oriented because it led to a much better acronym, CORE, than CCRE, client-centric real estate. So I coined the term, and the idea is that we should focus what we do on the needs of our clients, which seems self-evident, except that it's not always the case. Like a lot of what we do as an industry tends to focus on our own needs, not the needs of the agent, not the needs of the client. Think about sort of the great innovations of the last 25 years in the industry. A lot of them have had to do with the commission models, which is all internal to how agents relate to brokers. Nothing to do with clients. Has to do with how do we do lead generation? That's all about us. It's not about the client. And I kind of summarized our problem as an industry has been the fact that, we've been on the internet now for 25 years. We've had inventory on the internet for probably 25 years. And our websites are much better than they used to be because they have mapping and they have video and they have walkthroughs and they have all sorts of bells and whistles. But the fact is they still basically are designed to do the same thing, which is to generate leads. And once someone becomes a client, our websites become almost second. They're not necessary anymore. Like, someone signs a listing with us, what do they need the website for? What do they do on the website? Like, I get a bank account, I get a login and a passcode, and I go onto the bank and I can manage my banking relationship on my banking website. Someone signs a listing with me, we don't give them a login. There's nothing they can do online to manage their listing relationship with me, or at least most websites are like that. And I think that just goes to show that all of our innovative energies have been about us, about generating sales, and not about delivering a better service experience. And that has left us exposed. That was the thesis of my first book, Disruptors, Discounters, and Doubters, was that our focus on ourselves and on sales had left us exposed to disruption because other people were servicing client needs that we were not attending to. And then my second book, How to Be a Great Real Estate Agent, is about how to actually implement the core philosophy in your day-to-day routines. How do you go about living living the philosophy of how to service a client by focusing on what they need, not what you need?
I love that you're talking about that, because especially with the websites, because I was having conversations a long time ago, and somebody, I don't even remember who it was, but when we were talking about content and revisiting the website and restructuring it and all the good content that goes in there, she was reading, it was a female, but she was reading it and she said, this doesn't tell me really anything. I'm like, oh, well, here's all of our accolades and here's why we're such great agents and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, but it doesn't tell me why I should work with you. It doesn't tell me what you do for me. And that was a huge aha for me and mind shift, because I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. And then I started looking at so many other websites, not that they're bad websites. They're doing what they were intended to do, lead generate, right?
No.
But the original intention, but you're talking about a shift. But and they all had that same theme. I am great because of this. Work with me because I do this. Instead of saying, this is how we service you. This is why you're the most important person. This is why we act and treat you like our one-on-one client, right? So my website, I haven't been even working on it much lately because that brought me to a halt. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to change my mindset. And so now my focus is really that. And I'm much more intentional. My bio, all of my information is being much more intentional, focused on the client, just exactly what you're talking about. But it's because we've always done things one way, and you just don't even stop to think about it until it hits you in the face and you're like, oh my gosh, there's an opportunity here.
We're very focused on I don't mean to be hypercritical. The fact is that we're in business, we get paid when somebody closes on a transaction. It is normal for our attention to focus on things that will bring about transactions. And oftentimes that results in us being very focused on short-term opportunities rather than building for the long term. But your point's well, I mean, and I also don't mean to say there's anything wrong with a website that's an inventory website. One of the great services that we provide to a seller is we take their inventory and we take their listing, we make it look great on the internet. That's an important thing. One of the great services we provide to buyers is put all the inventory out there so they can see it. Right. Those are good things. I just mean that we're all doing that, but like Amazon, you can actually buy the thing. Like Amazon lets you shop, but you can also buy. Like our website, you can't buy. There's not even a buy button. We're the only industry in the world that puts all our inventory out there. Click may have faded a second. I lost my internet for a second.
We got you.
But it's good but we're doing good things. We're doing that. I just think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that clients have needs that go beyond just they're more nuanced than just they have to buy a house, they have to sell a house. Like they're much more complicated than that. And we often tend to think of them as just sellers and buyers without looking into the layers that are underneath there.
Well, you're forgetting the relationship. You're approaching it transactionally, right? When it really should be relational.
It should be.
You can so easily go into that transactional mindset. And I do believe that the transactional mindset starts to take hold if you're not careful, the longer you're in the industry as well. And also, if there's a gap between when you last made a primary residence purchase and moved, you forget. It's easy for agents to forget. This is such a time of potential anxiety and emotions. And what you're pointing out, Joe, that's really standing out to me is something that we need to put more pressure on as a conversation in the industry. And that is that agents have to think about customer service. We are a customer service industry. We are not typically thought of in that way, and that's the challenge. So I'm glad that you're putting focus on that. I would like to stand on the top of a mountain and scream it out. We need to put more focus on customer service relations.
Yeah.
Without question. I mean, that's been the focus. I mean, that's what my whole How to Be a Great Agent book is about. The idea that if you want to be successful in real estate, be great at your job. Be great at sales will come. If you're really, really good at helping people buy and sell homes, you're going to end up finding people to buy and sell homes. It's most good plumbers do a lot of business. Most good architects do a lot of business. They may not do sales, but they do business. And most of the agents I know who are really great at being agents, they do business, and they don't necessarily do it because they spend their spare time calling FSBOs. They do it because they're really great, and that gets out. That word gets out to people. We need to be. It's an interesting thing that you don't think of customer service in sales businesses. Customer service in a sales business, helping people through a sale process. Mm-hmm. Most real estate agents, sale process is like getting a listing signed. But then getting the listing signed is like the first step forward, a huge long journey of other things you have to do that are all customer service and not sales, right?
Yeah. You're spot on with that. So looking back, what's one of the biggest mistakes and lessons learned as you reflect over your successful career in the real estate industry?
I have never made any mistakes of any consequence.
Yeah.
I will say this, and I alluded to it before from the other side, but I would say this. It took me a long time, and I think it takes people a long time to have enough self-awareness to identify what they're good at and what they're bad at. And most people don't have the luxury. I did, because I had a brother, I have many brothers, but I had, particularly in Matt, I had a brother who was really good at the stuff that I'm not good at, managing people, managing operations, things like that, which freed me up to do the stuff that I'm good at, which I mean, in humility, I would say I'm probably better at the stuff I'm good at than he is at that creative stuff. And I think he would say that as well, where our skills complement each other. But I wasted a lot of time in my life doing things that I wasn't very good at, and that my aptitude wasn't high for, and that I could have been more successful and happier if I had realized that about myself earlier. And so I would say to agents, like, if you're not good at taking photos, stop taking photos. Put up $200 and have somebody take photos for you. Never take another photo. Right? I mean, you don't like it. You're not good at it. You don't want to learn how to do it. So stop doing it. If you're not good at, there's aspects of real estate practice or real estate management for those people who are managing that you can be bad at and still be good at the overall job. But if you're bad at that thing, what you really should do is find somebody that you can delegate that to, taking pictures or doing staging. If you're not good at, you don't have an eye for staging, or if you're not good at writing marketing copy, you can find people to do that. There are certain things you can't delegate out. I mean, if you're saying, well, the thing I'm really weak at is I don't like other people or working with them, I'd say, you know what, that's
not business.
The job. You can't do this job without being able to talk to people, without being able to relate to them. But you can do this job and be a crappy photographer, but you got to find someone to do that stuff for you. I don't think on my own I would be a very effective broker if I did not have the support system I have, because there are things that I'm just not good at doing. I mean, I could probably force myself to get good at them, but I wouldn't be happy. And I think the fact that I wasn't happy would eventually affect my work. And I think it took me a long time to figure that out. And I think that that it's an important thing that a lot of people never figure out, and they end up doing a lot of things that they don't like doing and they're not good at for a long period of time. And I certainly did. It's only really been I would say the last 8 to 10 years that I really did separate myself from stuff like doing good at. I like made a big difference career as well as the work that I've done for my agents.
So what you're sharing right now has really come to light for me. I'd say within the last year, but certainly the last few months, 6 months. I am the type of personality that I will do everything. I can get a lot of stuff done. I mean, my husband's like, I don't know how you get as much stuff done as you do in a short amount of time. Like queen of multitask, right? But just because you can multitask and do a lot of things doesn't mean you're doing it well, number one, or doesn't mean that you're enjoying what you're doing. And so you're spot on when you say that, because I've recognized that about me. And I always say, okay, I'll pay for convenience, or I'll do, something else, but I can take it on. But you're right. I have brought on somebody now. I love to write. My background is marketing, but I can't write well or effectively with my mind noisy, right? I write really well when I can quiet my mind, but I'm doing so many things that I can't sit there and do the thing that I know I'm good at and I enjoy. And so during my time of noise, I know those people that are good at it. So I brought on somebody to work alongside with me, right? She knows my voice. She partners with me. She helps me take that stuff off my plate, right? And that's very freeing. And when you're free, you find your passion again about why you're in this business in the first place. I mean, to me, this isn't a job. I think all three of us could say that. We truly love what we do day in and day out. But it's when all that stuff gets really muddy, it's a lot more, it takes that passion away. So I have somebody that does the staging now for me. Quite frankly, I hate going in there and being the bad guy and telling a person, okay, no, we need to make this wall this color and change. Shoot me. I don't want to do that. I have better use of my time. But I mean, surrounding yourself with the people that build you up, know your voice, and can support you, I think is critical. And especially the last few months, I've been being creative in my own mind is, okay, how can I do that better, that works for my situation and is going to serve my clients at a higher level. So the fact that it's taken you that long to learn it and you're sharing it now, I mean, it's taken me a long time too, but it's critical to really understand that about yourself.
I think your point's better than mine, frankly, because
what
I would.
You guys are cracking me up. I gotta tell you,
I want to be better than you when I grow up. So,
but here's why I think your point's better is that I was talking about the kinds of things where I had to strip out the work stuff I was not good at and didn't like doing, and I did. But there's also a part of I didn't actually mention it. And what you mentioned is the fact that sometimes you have to strip out stuff that you are good at, but it's not, you're overqualified to do it. Like there are things that like I'm really good at copywriting, for example. I can spot errors, but like it's not a good use of my time to be copy editing, materials that's going out. I'm good at deal doctoring, but like there's other people that can do that I don't need to, because it's not like I'm a good lawyer, but I've delegated out most of the law work of the company because although I was pretty good at being a lawyer, I really didn't like it. The harder part though is of the stuff that you like to do, but but you still shouldn't be doing it because it's more cost effective for you to get someone to do it. They can do it almost as good as you, but it's not important that it be that great. But meanwhile, that frees you up to do things that are much higher order, that are more revenue generating activities.
Well, and taking the time to really vet those people, right? I've gone through a lot of hires that I wanted to help them or I thought it would be a good fit and it wasn't a good fit, right? And so really taking, and that was just me being reactive and just kind of panicking and saying, I just need some help now and not finding the right people to surround myself with. And so really vetting those people that can be an extension of you and helping you in the right way saves you a lot of time too. It's just taking a little bit of time up front instead of having to do it on the back end.
Yeah.
But guys, if we go back to the overwhelming general body of real estate agents in our industry, probably the bulk of the 1.4 million agents, I believe that there's an inherent trap that we as agents can find ourselves in. And that is that the role in and of itself is wearing so many different hats. And so then the question that I think we should, again, put pressure on is, how does the average agent who hasn't reached a point where they're yet ready to scale their business to delegate, how do they manage continued growth without being able to delegate? That's the biggest challenge. And it kind of brings me back to making sure you have a strong tribe, consider team environments. What are your thoughts on that, Joe? Because how do you avoid it? I mean, we wear 1,002 hats.
I think that's right. And I think that, there are certain types of teams that I think that are not well structured or well considered. I think the best teams are the ones where there really is a delegation of responsibility and authority, usually from the top down. There's somebody up top who is really good at rainmaking and either does not is not as good at doing the nuts and bolts of the transaction, or is good at it but is better off spending their time developing relationships and generating more business. And then they figure out, okay, this person should do this person should do that. And I like teams like that because I think they really do avoid some of the jack of all trades, wearer of all hats problem that real estate agents have. But again, assuming that you don't have the team is an option where I think that some of those things can be solved. I do think that, some things like we talked about are integral to your job. You can't delegate them out. But even if you're someone who's new or is selling, if you're new, you really should try to learn. Don't assume you don't know how to do it until you've had some time. But let's say you've been in the business for a couple of years. You're doing 10, 15 deals a year, so you're making a living at it. And you start to learn what you're not good at. Well, then there are some things, like I said, photography is just a good example because it's an easy skill that it's easy to hire someone to do it for you. And it does take a certain amount of ability to do it well. And if you don't do it well, it takes a lot of time to learn it. So why learn it? The other things, I think that, that comes with coaching, with training, with educating yourself. I mean, you can get better. I'm 53 years old. I've been doing this 20 something years. Like when I say that, like, it took me time, what I was good at, what I was not good at. Well, I mean, I'm 53 years old. I spent a lot of time figuring it out. This is 5 years. Like all of a sudden say, all right, well, I'm terrible at, doing prospecting, so I'm not going to do any prospecting anymore. No, you haven't earned that right to like segregate out parts of your job and say, I'm never going to do this again. You have to earn that right by doing it and trying, and then eventually you might figure out where your skill set lies and where you should put your emphasis. But the fact is, there's certainly no shortage of skills training in this industry. There's no shortage of coaching in this industry that could get you through the motivational problems that you might have, and rely on those. Or there are certainly a lot of great companies out there that have internal mechanisms that can help you do that. I mean, there are companies where you have to do a lot by yourself, and there's companies that a lot gets done for you. If you're at a place where a lot gets done for you, and you find that you can do most of it better, well, then maybe you go to the shop where you do it all yourself. And if you're at a place where you basically have to do a lot by yourself, and you're like, I'm really foundering, maybe you try a place where they have more support staff for you than you otherwise would have.
The key is self-awareness to identify that. If our audience takes away anything from this conversation, which we should continue to have, is self-awareness to understand the role calls for 1,002 hats. And it's important to have a strong tribe around you, and strong. We're all leaders in our own way. Make sure you're surrounded by strong leaders.
And earning the right, that's key for me. You have to earn the right to be able to delegate. You have to earn the right to say, I don't want to do this, or I want to do this a little bit. You've got to put that time, sweat, and equity into whatever you're doing.
You know what drives me crazy? What agents say that drives me crazy all the time? They say, I don't know how to do that. And I say to them, okay, well, how many times have you tried to do it? Like they'll be like, well, that CRM, I don't know how to use that CRM. I'm like, how much time did you actually spend trying to learn the CRM? Like the first time you got on Facebook, you didn't know how to do Facebook either, but you figure it out because you tap and you play and you figure, and eventually it all comes to you. Well, I mean, give your tools, time. I mean, again, I've used the photography thing. You said, I don't know how to take good pictures. Well, there's a million websites that will teach you how to take good photos. Have you actually opened up the manual for your camera to actually learn how to do the settings, right? I mean, like you said, I don't know how to take good photos. Well, you don't know that you don't know yet because you haven't tried. And you see that like earn the right by trying.
Yeah, Joe, we did not ask you on here for you to tell me all these things that I should be doing.
I know. Now Joe's got us getting manual.
Oh my gosh, this is totally Elizabeth. Because I'm like, I don't know how to use this. I don't know. I'm self-prescribed ADD, Joe.
Oh yeah.
Everything you said, I am so guilty of. So I'm just gonna.
I'm professionally diagnosed, so yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Oh my gosh, I'm like, I call Renee all the time. I'm like, I don't even know. You just do it. Somebody just do it. I'm guilty of that. So absolutely.
Well, I'm a big fan of this thing called Google, right? Like, that comes up quite a bit around agent conversations is like, did you try Googling it first? Like, let's try there. Okay, Joe, so time to get your crystal ball out, looking out into your future and your horizon in your business. What are you most excited for?
Excited for me, my business, the industry, what's
the next big thing you want to accomplish? Like what's on the horizon for you and your team and whatever, like what's your next big thing?
I think that personally, the next big thing is that I want to write another book, but I want to write a book that I want to write a book about customer service and about how to be great at your job using what I've learned from working with real estate agents, which is a particular challenge because they're all independent contractors and it's a sales business and it's a tough business in a lot of ways. And then try to use those lessons to talk to a broader audience. Because I'd like to write a book that, I've written 2 books and like friends of mine, outside the industry say, "Ooh, I want to read your book." I'm like, "Don't read my book. It's all about real estate. You're not going to understand it. You're not going to like it. It's not going to make any sense." I'd like to write a book that's kind of spoke to people outside of real estate. And that's a personal goal. I will say what I'm most excited about generally as an industry. And what I'm excited about from sort of the broker agent perspective is that I really do see a change in the last few years. When I first started talking about customer service and about trying to be better at our job and how real estate agents need to stop thinking about as being salespeople, but as being service professionals, I mean, that was like 10 years ago. And I remember back then saying, one of the reasons we have to do this is that, I don't buy a book without reading the review on Amazon first. And someday people are not going to hire an agent until they read. And that was 10 years ago. And now, of course, that's all happened. So I can't even say that anymore because they're like, well, obviously. I'm like, well, but I was saying it back before it happened. I think that there has been in the last couple of years a real dramatic surge in the attention we pay to the consumer experience. And there are some companies that I think that have really made that part of their ethos. And I think that there's now a lot more training on the issue. I think we're not there yet. We're having the conversation the way that we didn't before. Like, you saying we client service business, like you didn't even hear people talking about that 10 years ago. Like that wasn't something that we said out loud. And so I'm excited about that because I think if we're going to fight off the disruptive elements, the people that are trying to disintermediate brokers and agents from their clients, I think the way we do this, I think we have to raise the bar on the experience that people have when they work with us. And I see people trying to do that now in a way that I didn't say 5-10 years ago.
That is a really good point. And one of the things that I will ask agents to keep in mind is everywhere you go, anytime, no matter how little or how big, you receive service that makes you feel a certain way, that is a moment that you acknowledge. It doesn't matter if it makes you feel not so great or if it makes you feel fantastic, wherever it falls on the scale. Take note, assess, pay attention, and move forward and understand what transpired there. So if it's something really bad, assess it and figure out, well, am I ever creating that type of a situation in the service I provide? And then obviously is if you get great service, like when I go into my car dealership, they roll a red carpet out. Not really, but they treat you like that. There's no red carpet, but you walk in and it's like they know your name and they're doing all the bells and whistles to make you feel heard, seen, and valued. And so with our industry, the more we put focus on that and realize when we feel a certain way, we never forget. If we approach all of our relationships that way in our industry, our whole industry will change, because we have to be remembered and we have to make them feel an experience that they won't ever forget. It's much bigger than a transaction.
I call that experience, I call it bringing the wow. That bringing the wow to somebody, that they have like this wow experience that makes them stop and say, wow, that was great. And we've all experienced it. Like there's an old line about the Supreme Court saying that it's very difficult to define pornography, but I know it when I see it. It's very difficult to define great service, like what it actually means, but you know it when you experience it, and you'll say, this was great. And there are things that we can do to manufacture it. You can't, there are some special moments that happen in an experience that with a service provider or a restaurant or whatever that can't be anticipated, that are just magical because of the spontaneousness of the moment. But then there are some things that you can actually prepare for and manufacture and create the experience on a regular basis. And I don't think we do enough of that. Like, was something I learned from somebody at the Ritz-Carlton, said that the Ritz-Carlton focuses intensely on the hello and the goodbye. Have a great hello and have a great goodbye. And I don't know that we're that good on either of those things as an industry. Like the hello tends to be, a lot of times the first interaction that you have with an agent as a consumer might be a rushed text message, or, you're being treated as a lead. They're trying to get you to get an appointment. And then the goodbye, unfortunately, we tend to think of the goodbye at the closing table, or the closing, if you close an escrow, which is a very stressful moment in the life of a buyer or a seller. The goodbye should be like 2 weeks later. The goodbye should be after the blush is over. That's when you do don't show up at a closing table with a plant for somebody to lug around. Like who wants a plant? Come by 2 weeks later with something for them. We need to have, there needs to be a moment where you have closure of a relationship, buying or selling a home. And we're not really good at that. But that's just an example. Like you can create those experiences. You can put systems in place that manufacture them more regularly, that at least you get these little wows. The big wow is the spontaneous thing, but you get little wows, which are good.
What you just said, I will not forget. That is, I hadn't thought of it. That is huge, Joe. Important to be mindful of the hello and the goodbye.
Yeah.
And the goodbye isn't really goodbye. It's just a transition into the next stage of our relationship. Sure. May I just say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the reason they have the Ritz-Carlton gives you a good goodbye is they want you to remember that as you walk out the door, that somebody said, thank you for staying with us. And you feel good about yourself as you leave the room. Like we should have the same thing. People should feel their last experience with you during a transaction should be a really nice memory, not frantically signing documents at a closing table, or if you're in a non closing state, whatever getting a phone call from the escrow agent. Okay, you're done. You just bought your house. Like, I mean, there's like no. At least in New York, when we do a closing, there's like a moment you get the keys. What do you do in the escrow states? What do you do? Like, is there any kind of like ceremony at when you buy the house, like at the end?
A lot of times there's not even keys anymore.
Right now it's like pull up to the side of absolutely. It's pull up to the curb and we can't even be there. So
that's true. Now you don't even, there's no actual live closing.
There's no live closing. So I'm trying to make the final walkthrough, like, oh my gosh, the final goodbye, kind of a big deal. But to your point, I mean, people remember poor service, right? Yeah. I can probably name any industry. And what I love about this conversation with you, Joe, is everything we're talking about, it doesn't matter that it's real estate, right? This can be across any industry. It's really about the customer. But people remember poor service, whether it's real estate, whether it's, a dining experience, whether it's a shopping, it doesn't matter. You will remember that. Those that are good experiences are fine. People are like, oh yeah, if somebody brings it up, oh yeah, that was a good experience. But what you're talking about is going above and beyond. Being that person, being that cheerleader, cheering them on every step of the way, and being there at the very end, like super excited, like it's your only house or your only transaction, right? that's what people are going to remember. You were just as invested as they were. You were just, you were fighting for them every step of the way. And that's what they're going to remember. They're not going to remember the process in between. They're going to remember if it was a bad experience or if it was a great one. And you want to be on the great side.
And you know what really sticks in people's minds, which is, I always remind agents of this because I think it makes them feel better about stuff, is that the great service experiences, when I ask people in audiences to tell me a really great service experience story, they almost never tell me a story about, I went to this restaurant and everything was wonderful, everything was perfect. Or I went on a flight and it was on time and I got a great seat and the food was good. It's about a recovery. The great service stories are always not always, but are more often than not a story of a meal that went awry and then they fixed it. Is the flight that was delayed, but they made it up to me in this way. That's what people remember, because accidents and mistakes happen. Like bad stuff happens. No matter how good you are at your job, some things are going to get screwed up. Sometimes they'll be your fault. Sometimes they won't be. But how you react to those problems can be really meaningful to a client. Like that you fixed a problem that they had. They were freaking out. You kept your head and you fixed it. That's what they remember. They remember something went wrong and you got it right. That's even more than if everything went right from the beginning. They remember bad and then good. It's the change that they remember.
Well, Renee knows about this crazy deal I've been dealing with. And what you're talking about is exactly right. I mean, my poor little clients were supposed to close June 1st. June 1st, they finally closed yesterday. So everything that could have gone on in a transaction, no fault of mine. We had an unrepresented buyer. We had an appraisal that came in $75,000 under. FedEx lost the closing documents not once but twice, right? My clients are sleeping on a floor. Now they're in Canada. I mean, it's just everything that could go wrong could go wrong. But every step of the way, they were like, I kept them informed. I was in touch with them. I mean, they were still smiling at the very end. And he called me today. They love me. And they can't refer me to other people. But you know what I mean? It's that thing. You can't just show up at the beginning and then. You have to be there and be committed and be intentional and focus on your clients every step of the way. I mean, this deal could have gone really, really, really south because it was probably in my 15 years, one of the most challenging things I've ever dealt with. But the fact that my clients are thrilled
that's all that matters.
Right. And they are happy that they hired me because they were supposed to be for sale by owner. I mean, it was the craziest thing. But that, I mean, was a huge win for me. I mean, I know I have other clients that make me happy, but that's what my focus is. And if I can make everybody have that experience, I've done my job well.
Handling crises and, being able to manage when they know that they were stressed out and you took care of it. Just think of, as a good example of this phenomenon is one of the most popular public officials in the country right now is Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York State, who by all accounts, and he won't admit this, but without question, he screwed up at the beginning. Like they didn't close down things quickly enough in New York, and they made a mistake with the way they handled nursing homes, and people have died because of the mistakes they made. But once they got themselves centered, they were transparent, they were effective, they took control, they took command, they did a briefing every day and told you what was going on, and he addressed the problem. He fixed the problem and we got out of it. And so now, except for the people that hate him no matter what he does, like everybody sort of acknowledges that he did a good job with that. Not to be political or anything like that, but it's the idea that don't be afraid if you screw up that, forget it, I'm never going to get, no, that's the screw up is the opportunity to now say to this client, okay, I'm going to fix this. And what you're going to remember is that I fixed it, not that I broke it in the first place. Not to say that you broke any of these things, but just that when you fix a problem, that's what people remember.
So you're talking about such strong leadership skills, and strong leadership skills are critical to be able to acknowledge when there's been an error or there's room for improvement. And it always brings me back to 11 words that I tell agents will change their business forever if they have the courage to ask when they miss a potential customer. And that is, what could I have done differently to have earned your business? And having that to say, I value what your feedback is, I want to fix this, is critical. Okay, Joe, because I know we're coming at the top of the hour, I got to say, this is the question that's going to put you on the edge of your seat.
Oh boy.
We're putting you in the hot seat now.
Okay.
What does leadership from the heart mean to you?
That's a really great question, and thank you for letting me know that you were going to ask that. That's the theme, I guess, of your show here. Here's what I would say is that the foundation of my whole approach to the business, which has become pretty much my approach to everything, is I try to think expansively about what other people need, and then creatively about how I can give it to them. And so from a leadership perspective, it's saying, all right, what is it that my agents need? Don't just like jump to like, okay, they need this. Like, no, think about it. Think about it from different perspectives. Think not just the way that what I think they need, because that's what is in my best interest, but like, what do they, I gotta tilt my perspective. I gotta shift it side by side to say, what is it they need? I gotta think expansively and then creatively about how to give it to them. I mean, the example I always use is, we tend to think of clients as, well, they need to buy or sell a home, except that every time I run into somebody in a social situation, I tell them what I do, the first thing they ask me is, well, how's the market? Like, they all want to know how the market is. And that tells me that there's a lapse there, that as an industry, we're very good at helping people buy and sell a home, not so good at sort of helping them know what's going on in the market when they're not buying or selling a home, because we focus on the people buying or selling. Well, the same thing sort of broadly, just to think expansively, what do my agents need that they may not even, anticipate their needs, adapt as their needs change, think creatively about, all right, well, they're having a problem with this. How can I fix it? Like, we did a lot of that over the last 3 months. I mean, we helped. I spent days trying to find a banker that would do the PPP loans for independent contractors, and eventually found somebody who probably did about 30 or 40 for my agents about doing their loans. Like, that was, I knew they would be helped if they could get those loans. So I had to go find someone who was willing to do it, because a lot of them weren't willing to do it. We did a lot on the unemployment laws and trying to explain them and break them down and guide people the right way, because they were qualified for them under the new law, under the CARES Act. I think leadership is about really, leadership is about thinking about what other people need and then trying to find a way to give it to them. And, the more you do that when you're in a leadership position, the better it makes you. Just even, being that focused for my business on what other people need, what clients need, what agents need, it made me a better husband, made me a better father, made me a better citizen. I'm better at my community because I think, okay, what does my community need? What do we need? And then I come up with ideas, I mean, like during COVID, I made Yelp lists of restaurants that were still open, that would do delivery or do takeout during the pandemic in April, which it was tough to find a restaurant that was open. So I went and figured out all the restaurants that are open. I created a Yelp list for each one of them based on the town that they were in. That was thinking about the community. That's the way when you train your mind to think that way, you can't turn it off. It's always on.
Chief Creative Officer, my friend.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you were thinking, Elizabeth?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, now just explain his whole title in one question. So yes.
That's right. We adore you, Joe. It has been such a pleasure to get to know you more over the last few months. I really, really appreciate what you pour into in the entire industry. And thank you for sharing your time with us today.
It honestly has been my pleasure. This was I can't believe it's been an hour. You guys are so much fun to talk to, and you're so kind. I do appreciate the time you gave me. Thank you.
Will you come back when you're either working on the book or when the book is on, or anytime you're welcome back. But I think we need a deeper dive into this customer service conversation.
Sure. Anytime you want me back, just invite me back. You can't keep me away.
Yeah, you're wonderful. We thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Have a great day.
Take care, Joe. Bye.
Safe. Bye-bye.